Hey guys, Bix Weir, roadtoruta.com. We have a two-part discussion with Will Lehr of Perpetual Assets. The first part, we're going to talk about Silver Eagles, a Silver Eagle special, what's going on with the Silver Eagles. I've been running some scenarios, and it's kind of crazy. And then we're going to talk about ThetaCon. Will had boots on the ground at ThetaCon. We'll talk about that, and then we'll go into things out of YouTube space so we can talk about them. About what's going on. So, Will, first of all, it is lovely to see you. How's life been treating you?
Always a pleasure to see you, my friend. Great. Life is good. Yeah, no complaints. Just riding this wild roller coaster here, you know?
It is wild. It's crazy. Oh, by the way, let's just start with what you guys have done to get your hands on some Silver Eagles. What you've got a special on Silver Eagles right now? What is it, and how can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, we're running a Road to Ruta special for a couple of days on Silver Eagles per Bix's big Silver Eagle announcement here. If you go on the website, perpetualassets.com, and click, there's not an actual overspot, but the top tier, we dropped the price on those to where you can get, at last I checked, it was like $28.50 per Eagle. And then I think the next tier down at 100 coins was like 29 and change. So reasonable prices on Eagles. Then it's the last of the 2023s. You know, they'll transition to the 2024s at some point. Right now, those are
maybe
true that, right? In past years, well, let's talk about that next.
Yeah.
But like right now, the 2024s are all pre-order, which I don't touch anything pre-order, especially when things are insane like this. If it's a week out, okay, I'll buy it. But what are your thoughts on previous years? Remember, we had crazy insanity with the changing of the dies from one year to the next, right?
Yeah.
What do you think is going to go down this year?
Well, I think well, I was told by Jack Sermon of the U.S. Mint, the guy who's head of Silver Eagle sales, that they would make about 24 million this year. And I'm like, wait, you're not going to get there doing what you're doing. This was just a recent.
That was in like September or something.
Yeah. That was like in September. And last month they almost did 4 million Eagles in 1 month.
And prior to that, they'd done maybe 1 million a month, not even.
Well, no, what happened was January is always a accumulation of January and the prior December when they start making it and things like that. But February, March, April, and May, every single month they only did 900,000 exactly. And that's when I contacted the Mint, and they didn't know why. And I said, well, you're going to have to answer these questions I have. Can you run this up the flagpole to your superiors? And that's when this guy, Jack Sermon, called me back. So I'm calling customer service, and the head of Silver Eagle sales calls me to explain what's going on. And if you guys have heard that conversation, it's right at the front of Road to Ruta website. So yeah, he basically admitted that he was told by senior management, Ventris Gibson, the head of the Mint now, to sell as few Silver Eagles as possible. They don't want to sell any. What's the minimum amount we can sell without raising?
And that's why premiums got so high in the marketplace, right?
That's exactly it.
That's why they were $35 a piece, $10 over, whatever.
Even though the Mint was selling them at $50 over cost, which is completely illegal in the Silver Eagle law. Silver Eagle law says that they have to charge their own cost without a markup. So
and they were 50%. They were marking it up 50%.
No, 50 cents. The big markup, because there were so few coming out, the authorized dealers are like, hell, this is free market stuff. If everybody wants them and they aren't making any, this, I'm going to charge everything I can, which they did. We saw.
Yeah. Well, they had to, because their supply.
Yeah.
I mean, if they were used to selling 10x that number, and then their supply line is 1/10 of that, the prices have to go up, right? If demand doesn't change.
Absolutely. And I mean, most people didn't sell their Silver Eagles into that. Most people, when they get physical in their own possession, it's rare that they sell it. Sometimes you need to liquidate to buy something, but you don't really, take physical delivery to be a trader.
Right.
You take it for a long-term hold. But on the Silver Eagle front, so I contacted him in September, and I said, what the fuck? I don't remember what I was asking about, but he said he had just heard that they got an extra 4 million blank, because they had it set at like 21 million, or no, it was like 19 million. He told me that. He goes, we got some more back in June that I talked to him. And then he said, back in September, he got even more. So he said it's going to be somewhere around 24 million.
To finish the
the
year.
reality is that the law says they have to make them to meet demand, no matter if they have to pay more for the blanks or not. They are required by law to meet demand. It's the only coin on the planet that is required by law to meet demand, as far as I know.
And regardless, if they're paying more for blanks, then that
matter.
would just roll right into the price, wouldn't it? I mean, they're selling them at cost, so
yeah, it's a pass through. Well, and then people were trying to say, well, there's a law in the U.S. government that they can't pay anything over fair market value, and they're saying, well, they can't bid over fair market value for the silver, and I'm like, well, that is not what they are doing, because most people don't know.
They're paying fair market value.
The U.S. Mint buys COMEX bars, takes delivery of the COMEX bars, then sends them to Sunshine Mint to get made. And that's where because there's such high demand for coins, that's where the Mint basically fucked up and said, oh, but they liked it. The U.S. Mint liked it that it was so high of a cost to get blanks because they wanted to produce as few as possible.
Right.
So they're required by law to pay whatever the Sunshine Mint or whoever they get the blanks from is selling them to them for. And if
that's just a minting premium that they're paying. The silver ounce for ounce is locked in if they're buying 1,000-ounce bars, right? And so then they're paying the mint for a minting premium for a couple bucks an ounce or whatever that might be.
But they're required to pay up to infinity. I mean, they should be bidding the much higher for the silver blanks and passing that cost forward. And they should be making, I hear demand should be 60 or 70 million a year right now, which is, up 50% from what it was at the peak. But still, I mean, obviously things have changed in the silver world. It's hard to get silver, first of all. There's so much fraud. JP Morgan was busted for rigging the silver market along with many other banks. And you would imagine silver trading at like gold, 2.5 times its all-time high, but it's not. It's still at 44% of its all-time high from 1980. I mean, the insanity of this market is visible for all to see, in my opinion.
Well, and in 2010 or whatever year, 2011, we kissed 49 or 48, didn't we? We got close to it.
Yeah, it was 20.
So I mean,
2011,
and that's that huge. Not to be a technical chart analyst, but it's a 30-year top and handle formation on the silver chart, which is massive.
You got a
chart guy.
Yeah.
Although
I would say during that time, Ted Butler is correct, which I believe he is because he tracks inventories very well. JP Morgan was buying silver eagles as well as all types of physical silver
in that run up.
I know they were an authorized participant back then because the Mint used to publish that list. They don't anymore. But also it was HSBC that was running the hedge book for the Mint. I don't know who's running it now, but when Ventures Gibson got in, they lost $112 million on their hedge book on a year that silver went down in price. So if you're trying to hedge your inventory, you take shorts. So if the price goes down, you make money on your hedge. They lost money and they lost money on silver. So they lost $112 million. And that's just playing the market. That's price suppression. That was 2021 when, the silver squeeze was going on at the beginning of the year. What I think happened was, they put a hedge on when they buy the silver. And then when they sell the silver, they close the hedge, meaning they have to buy back the short position. Mm-hmm. Well, they didn't want to increase the price, so they just didn't buy back their shorts, and then they went through the full year and didn't buy back, and then the next year they ended up doing it. But it cost them $112 million in 2021.
Wow. So suppressing the price is not cheap.
Suppressing the price is not cheap for anyone. The U.S. Mint did their part. The CFTC, Russ and Benham came out and said we'll tamp down the price. That was part of it. Mm-hmm. So why I'm so hot and bothered right now about the Silver Eagle program is I do believe we are at the very end of our banking system, of our fiat system. And we don't know what the feather is that's going to hit the banking system to knock it over, but it could be anything these days. Most likely, I would guess it is World War III, force majeure. Everybody, doesn't have to settle up. That's a great end game for the banksters. But in that scenario, in a force majeure scenario, they won't be making Silver Eagles. I don't think they'll make any Silver Eagles when war breaks out, because when war breaks out, you can say, "Oh, we need these precious materials." There is no more precious commodity than silver. Silver is the number one for military, the number one for the banking system, obviously, number one for electronics, number one for green energy, number one for everything. So I do believe that the U.S. government will stop making Silver Eagles, especially if the banks go down. If the banks
maybe this little trial run that we just witnessed of them curtailing production was the trial balloon, right?
Yeah, that very well could be. And then when you think about it, if we are returning to a gold and silver standard after the chaos, which the chaos is coming, I can't tell you when, but after the banking chaos comes and goes, and we're left with nothing, I think we're going back to gold and silver as money. In that scenario, you won't be buying Silver Eagles from the U.S. Mint. There won't be any U.S. dollars floating around. Silver will be money at that point in time.
Almost overnight, right?
Almost overnight. And you'll be allocated a certain amount based on your, probably on the FDIC insurance, the 250,000 of gold and silver. So that's the thing. $250,000 of what? Of Federal Reserve notes that'll be worthless? You see where all kinds of
what's the price of silver become at that point? Let's say you had I had 150K in my bank account that was FDIC insured. Well, what's that total number times all these different accounts to backstop? What's the price of silver going to be then? $1,000 an ounce.
Well,
there ain't enough of it at 25, right?
What would it even be denominated in? It will be denominated in the ounce of silver. It's kind of hard to get your head around that you have $250,000 of Federal Reserve notes is FDIC insurance. They can print those, create them out of thin air, but the FDIC cannot. The Fed can. So, Cliff had 3 attempts to save the system. Some people claim that the first attempt was back in 2008. Yeah, and they did. They were successful in, kicking the can down the road for quite a long time. Yeah. The latest bank bailouts started in March of this year, when people started to recognize that unrealized losses at the banks are massive, and anybody who runs in to get their money out, if enough people do it, it implodes. That's what happened to Silicon Valley Bank. That's what will happen with every bank.
Mm-hmm. And how many regional, we had the number of bank failures, I saw it the other day, this year.
It's like 6 or 7.
Yeah, something like that. And then another one just a couple days ago.
And the Fed has, the FDIC has bailed out all depositors. So that's it. And they did it in a kind of a sneaky way. They'll say, okay, we're going to give, for example, the latest one was Citizens Bank of Idaho or something like that. They had 2 branches, 80, somewhere around 80 million in deposits, 60 million in assets type of thing. And the way they did it is they stripped out all the crap. The FDIC took the crap, and then they sold the bank with all the deposits, 100% of the deposits, to another bank. Mm-hmm. So it didn't matter. There's no FDIC, they claim there's no FDIC insurance to pay out. So they didn't have to, haircut anybody who had over $250,000, a company, a corporation, whatever. Yeah. So that's another FDIC,
because there was still solvency, right?
Well, supposedly, but then again, the FDIC are saying it's going to cost $15 million out of the DIF fund, the deposit insurance fund. Well, that's a bailout of a bank. You're an insurance company. That's what you're paying out. Who are you paying it out to? If all the deposits are going to the new bank, you are bailing out people. And
Totally.
where's
Yeah.
that money going? It's going to the new bank because the new bank
That's the question.
is stuck with the
Also,
shitty
these new new depositors, Joe Smith had an account with Citizens Bank. It went under, so that now his account automatically de facto goes to the new bank.
Yep.
Yeah, he doesn't get a
all
check.
accounts.
It's not like he gets a check, right?
Yeah, you
Wow.
said all accounts. So the FDIC is bailing out. I mean, if they were a regular, finance or insurance company, they would say, okay, what are the assets? We're going to liquidate everything, and we're going to pay out on everybody who had $250,000 in there.
Yep.
It would have. They're saying it would have cost more that way. Probably would have, because if that's the way it's done, and I've been screaming this, the moment that somebody did get paid back his deposit in an FDIC insured bank, no matter if it's over the deposit level or not, that very moment, everybody rushes out to the banks and it's over.
Absolutely. Yeah. If there had been news of a bankruptcy and them settling deposits up to 250 and there were losses over stuff, not that many people have 250 more than 250 in a bank account, but still, you're right. It gets just like if the gold price starts soaring, that's why they have to keep it under wraps. Maintain that confidence.
Yeah, I agree. So I think we're going to see this all come to a head in the next couple of months, and then what happens to the Eagle program with the U.S. Mint if the banks collapse? Clearly, no one can buy an Eagle because they don't have any money because the banks have collapsed. So will it be that the U.S. government starts using gold and silver and just allocating it to the people in some way? For example, the way in the Road to Ruta documents, the way Alan Greenspan had planned it in the early 70s, when he was in charge of that as the head of the Council of Economic Advisors for Ford. It was by Social Security balances. That's way it's kind of fair. Everybody gets a base amount of them because everybody will have zero. Everybody gets a little base amount based on, probably under 18. You probably don't, maybe not. I don't know. Maybe it's all tiered. See, that's the problem. Somebody has to decide all this and everybody has to agree on it, which will be almost impossible.
Right.
But so if they just give out a base amount of gold and silver to the population to use as money, you can put it on a blockchain. I would highly suggest to whoever's doing this not to use a CBDC, a proprietary. It's not, I wouldn't even call it a blockchain. It's a ledger.
Yeah.
That they control your life. You can do it on any blockchain, that a good blockchain, Bitcoin blockchain, you can do that. You need permission from Reggie Middleton to link any gold and silver to that, but you can have it on your phone. So yeah, that's why I'm thinking this could be, I wouldn't say it's 100% chance, not even close, but this could be your last opportunity. The end of the 2023, they're going to stop producing them in the next couple of weeks. They usually do it like near Thanksgiving. Sometimes it goes into December, but sometimes not. They've already cut down drastically from last month that I noticed that they posted for the first week. So if you are going to buy a Silver Eagle before all the chaos hits, I think this is your last chance to get one of the new ones, the 2023s. And then if they do stop and they don't start again, then all the Silver Eagles will come into play. So we'll see. But I mean, if you're waiting for something to happen, like I know Snippy's waiting for the crash in the system, so he can, he's going to sell Bitcoin like 38,000. He's going to buy back when everything's destroyed. I don't think any exchanges would even be open to be able to do that. No. I think the same goes with silver. I don't think, the banks crash. You're not going to be going to your local silver shop and paying fiat money for your silver because there won't be any fiat money. It's one of those things. You'd rather be, decades early than a second too late.
Correct. And in this case, you're talking about not a huge discount. And if you're going to do it with 10, we just had this conversation in our friends group, you're going to do it with 10% of your stack or whatever, go for it, but all in or all out, I should say, is crazy.
It is crazy.
Things will go unobtainium. Things will break. There's no guarantee you'll be able to buy at those prices, especially with silver. I mean, if we have a huge stock market crash, commodities crash, and you see, $15 silver or below, just forget about it. The physical market will break overnight. The buyers will come in and snap that up so fast at $15. that before you know it, premiums it'll be 30, 40 bucks an ounce.
You see, I don't think that will happen, because I don't think that there'll be any sellers at that point either. I mean, the guys who hold metal and the brokers and dealers and all that, you and all the guys, when they see this shit happening, they're not going to be selling any of this.
I could imagine like a large inventory, like an APMEX, okay, who's sitting on Lord knows how large of an inventory they're sitting on, right? Huge wholesale and retail dealer. And in the past, like when we've had supply shocks to the silver market, and you couldn't get, remember a few years ago, and it was scary before COVID, 5 years ago now. APMEX had inventory for a while, but their premiums were outrageous,
right?
And I would imagine that's probably what would happen first. They'd see $15. It'd probably reduce them a little bit, and their profits would be outrageous, because they're like, okay, now we're selling on a limited supply. We can't get any more, right? Because the miners the supply lines are almost dry at $15. So it would happen fast. It would happen really fast at that kind of a price, definitely.
Crazy. All right. Okay, so you guys get your there's your commercial for buying Silver Eagles as many as you can. Go to perpetualassets.com, and they have a precious metals page. And what's the minimum order?
2,000 is the minimum order. So
okay,
if you go on with the 100-ounce tier, which is what, $2,800, you're gonna hit the lower tier on the price. So
go check it out. Absolutely. And I also want to encourage everybody to look deeply into your cryptocurrencies as far as what do you want to hold through the chaos. The chaos meaning I don't think cryptocurrencies will be trading at all if the banks go down. Without any banks, you got no. I mean, the companies even run off fiat money.
Coinbase, bro, it's hard enough.
Yeah,
it's hard enough already. Really, I mean, to trade these cryptos,
they've made it this hard.
Yeah, and now there's decentralized swap sites and exchanges that are pretty easy to use, like Change Now and Simple Swap. But those will lock up as soon as there's an event. If they can't get supply, if they can't get liquidity from the exchanges, that's where they get it.
Yeah, that's crazy. Let's talk about, you just got back from ThetaCon 23.
Yep.
Give us an update. Tell people what it is and why you went and what was said and the general feeling there.
Yeah. ThetaCon is a community organized and created and led event. Last year, 2022, was the first one. And it was a Road to Ruta guy, a client of ours, an old friend, and a couple of the Theta guys who said, we need to put together a conference, basically. And the community got behind them. And this was the second year, deep into the bear market. And, you still had a couple hundred people from all over the world. I mean, all over the world, which is very cool, right? It was in Austin, Texas, which is in my backyard, which was a lot of fun. Downtown Austin is a whole scene, the music scene and everything.
How's the livability in Austin these days?
It feels like, downtown feels like it feels like a big city. I mean, where we were was in this section of downtown that used to be nothing there. And now it's like skyscrapers being built it's unbelievable. It felt like Manhattan, it was insane. In this little section where we were, Austin's blown up, man. It felt a little 15-minute city, downtown. In fact, I don't know if it's on the list. I need to check because anyway. So the Theta, what impresses me, man, the amount of what's being built, the projects, the applications, the companies that are now running on the Theta blockchain. So Levita was there, the CEO was there. He did a presentation. I spoke with him afterwards for a while with another guy who runs an insurance company with a bunch of agents and was talking about certain tie-ins with what they do into the insurance company. And just kind of big stuff that's happening. So Levita is an AI healthcare company, medical records and healthcare. And of course, the biggest question with that is decentralization. You know, these health records, you know, is this a plug-in to the federal health record, you know, where we're all just like the WeChat, you know, where we're all just social credit score, medical credit score. It's kind of scary to think about, but no, the focus is decentralization on it. And talk to him about that. And he said, of course, you'll have certain, you know, enterprises that may have an internal chain, right? You may have a hospital or whatever that has internal records that they're running through this Levita protocol, but are internalized. But like patient records and all this other stuff could be shared through this larger protocol. Really interesting, man. And Replay TV. It's a streaming TV protocol based out of Austin. They're up for this award, fastest growing startup in Austin. They're moving and shaking big time. And I sent you something a minute ago. It was really interesting about the correlation between artists and a particular type of broadcast media where there's no tracking, there's lots of theft of their work and so on, and this, you know, fixes all of it, streamlines it, and then through the streaming process, it quantifies all the data and everything. I mean, it's kind of a dream come true for this particular niche industry, you know. And all these different things, you know, getting built on the Theta blockchain, you realize just that, and you see the demand for Tfuel. I mean, as we keep going, it's going to be really interesting to watch everything develop. Mitch was in the flesh, so we got to hang out and shake hands with Mitch. Yeah. And
I saw the AMA, the Ask Me Anything session, and I learned quite a bit. You know, they've really kind of stopped selling Theta as the CDN aspects of it, because you're basically telling massive companies to change the way their infrastructure works in a very successful business. It's very difficult to do. Mm-hmm. Even though they can see that they save a shit ton of money on CDNs, it also puts some of those CDN companies out of business if everybody were to adopt it. So you have the creative destruction factor that is massive in the Theta protocol, the CDNs, the cloud storage. I mean, decentralized cloud storage. Can you imagine what that would do to Google's cloud storage business, or Amazon?
Well, clearly, I mean, Google Cloud they're knee deep in Theta. Like,
I know.
Specifically, I mean, so they're clearly embracing it. I'm curious about this new data center that they're building in El Salvador. That Google Cloud specifically, it's going to be their Central American headquarters or whatever. Jesus. I wonder if there's any.
El Salvador is the most crypto-friendly country in the world right now, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's as a country. I mean, you know, you've got Singapore, you got Dubai, but yeah, I mean, El Salvador's Bitcoin country. It's kind of amazing, the development. I'm headed there tomorrow. Yeah. The stuff happening down there is pretty incredible.
So I just finished reading a book called The Metaverse. It was written a couple of years ago when the metaverse had just started, and the amount of information, the amount of reliable broadband, for example. You cannot have the Internet of Things without reliable broadband. Every country on the planet right now is looking to sink trillions of dollars, total of trillions of dollars, into expanding broadband, especially because of the last mile problem. And that's what basically the last mile problem is. You know, you got a big city and you have all these individual people who need streams of data. How do you do that? You go through a CDN, a content delivery network. Well, they're getting filled up too. Whereas through Theta, you have downloads on your PC that share your broadband. You don't have to invest trillions of dollars into the infrastructure in a scenario like that. Imagine a town, a big city like Austin, for example. If everybody was told, hey, you can download this program on your computer, it runs in the background, and you'll earn Tfuel and share your broadband. If everybody did it, you've got millions of nodes sharing broadband. Yeah, that's the kind of future I see. Instead of spending, you know, I was looking at the city of where I live, up north, has this big broadband push, and it's millions of dollars. And the town I live in, they can't afford this shit. I'm like, I'm about to go to City Hall and say, all right, let's test something out. It's not going to cost anybody. It won't cost us millions of dollars to get everybody to start using the Theta edge nodes and increase broadband in our area.
Yeah.
Why? I'm a little confused about the management, Theta Labs, and how they see the big picture. I know they want, and this was discussed very early on. Why doesn't Samsung and Sony just download the Theta Edge node on every one of their smart TVs and voila?
Right.
They see that big picture, and the original discussion was, we want to do it organically, build the community and and it's done well for that, because there's a lot more you can do with Theta. It is literally laying the rails for Web 3.0 and AI.
You don't want your network right out of the gate to be centralized, right? Okay, we've got this great network, but it's not so distributed because it's controlled by Sony and Samsung.
Well, no, see that Samsung wouldn't control it, but
they wouldn't control it,
and Sony and all that. They have, this branches out into so many ingrained business sectors within each company. Google, it's obvious that it'd be competing with the cloud. The Theta cloud will be competing with the Google cloud, and the Google cloud would lose hands down, because the Theta cloud is pretty much decentralized and pays for itself through all the people participating.
Yep.
And it sounded to me in the discussions that they get pushback on that. And I don't think they're pushing it hard enough because it's going to happen. You can't hold back technology like this, disruptive technology. Everybody wants to stop, the motorized cars from taking over the horse and buggy industry, because the horse and buggy industry was so strong and so ingrained, and you can't have that kind of disruption. But it happens. It will happen. It will come. I think we're in that stage of Theta being able to solve so many of these problems, and yet the big guys are so ingrained, so invested in 5-10 years out, and they built these infrastructures, and they pay off over long periods of time to have a kind of industry disruptor like Theta. I get why they get pushback, but at the same time, if they don't jump on board, or if Theta doesn't do much, I mean, I love the patents that Theta has, but you gotta start implementing on a larger scale and pushing these guys to do it, because if they don't do it, someone else is gonna.
Right.
And you would rather, I think, for the most part, AI is a different thing. You don't really want to be first to the table, because look what happened to Facebook. How much have they spent on the metaverse and all that? They're kind of, we're going to focus everything into the metaverse, when, the economics weren't there yet to do that.
Right.
And it's complete failure.
Yeah.
So it is a give and take. I get that. But at the same time, technology moves so fast. And, what's the next big thing? It's great to have a patent on the Theta technology, but you don't want to wait 10 years for people to invent other things for it to really benefit Theta.
Yeah, Mitch did mention something about that. I don't know if it was on the AMA, where he talked about his watch, and he was like, imagine my watch, while it's plugged in, doing nothing, it could be running micro jobs. And he talked about the importance of these micro jobs, and how a lot of, somebody explained it to me, kind of like with contractors, where contractors will go in and they'll bid a job, but then if there's too many micro jobs, they won't even get looked at, right? But then, the little guy comes in and gobbles them all up. And it was kind of like that, where in the network, there's all these micro jobs that get left to the, and then they compound, and it's a tremendous amount of, missed opportunity there that could be handled easily with little devices that are just sitting there plugged in, doing nothing, right?
I think the interesting thing is, all the stuff we're talking about has no bearing on the price. The price of all cryptos have nothing to do with what Theta is doing. Theta could say, we've solved every problem on the planet, and the price wouldn't move, because people who invest in cryptos invest because the price goes up, and they run away when the price goes down. They don't even look at what's underlying some of these cryptos, especially the ones that are doing things, have a use case. And obviously all the cryptos run off of what Bitcoin's doing because they're traded in swaps. Everything trades Bitcoin for Theta, Theta for Bitcoin, all that stuff.
That said, Theta has 50% of it is staked. You've got a large community backing behind Theta. And that's what's evident by going to ThetaCon. The amount of applications, the amount of builders, the amount of it's got a really strong, grassroots kind of thing going on.
And I think that's the best part is that hasn't been baked into the price at all. And when the true tech investors leave Silicon Valley type companies and startups and start really getting into the cryptos, which I think is part of the next wave, they're going to look at companies like Theta, for example, and say, holy fuck, this is a massive disruptor. How do we get involved with it?
They're doing it to Chainlink right now. We touched on Link the other day, and I know that's one that you were like, this could violate Reggie's patent. But if you just look at Link, the Grayscale Trust Link is, dude, it's like over 200% higher than the Link price. All huge amounts of institutional interest is coming into Link because they're viewing it as, the next Bitcoin, the next, crypto of cryptos, like connecting everything. And it's literally happening. I'm watching it with Link right now because the price hasn't the price of Link is like $14 and the Grayscale price is $50. So, and it keeps going up. So and you look at the huge amounts of inflows into the fund causing the price to go up. So the fund has to go acquire more of it's kind of like 1 + 1 is 2, and it's playing out. I'm like, man, this is going to happen with Theta someday, So I'll sell the Link for Theta before that happens.
Theta has had a huge disadvantage this whole time, even though it's gone up, down, sideways, and Theta Labs has done everything they can and more. It's such a different prospect to convince someone, hey, this is a good thing. Here's what they do, because they do a hell of a lot more, and they've proven it now. Problem is that it's not traded in the United States of America. It's like, what the hell? I mean, talk about conspiracy. Probably I think the best crypto out there is not traded in the US. What's going to happen when it does trade in the US? Dude. And, Mitch mentioned something like, I guess Coinbase was ready to do it, and then COVID hit, and the government went after Coinbase for everything with all their might, as Gary Gensler did to cause this bubble to pop. And Theta still hasn't been, involved in any of the, the U.S. monetary stuff, because it's banned. It's like, it's weird. It's banned for some reason. But I've seen that in a lot of my investments. Why isn't anybody talking about silver? Why wouldn't a big bank just buy every single ounce of silver in the world and be done with it?
Right.
And it's kind of like, because it's too important. Not that
same with Theta. I mean, look at the market cap. Look how much is of the available supply. It's like, dude, Elon or Apple or Amazon. I mean, there's so many big pockets companies that could come in and go, yes, please. But they don't know about it yet.
And they don't know about it. And when they do, they'll be bidding on, not 100% of Theta. It doesn't get traded because it's all locked up as in Guardian nodes, in Edge nodes. It
was up to, wasn't like 65 something, 68% of it was staked there in the bull run, and now it's down to 50 or 50 something, 50 change.
And those of you who do stake Theta, you get these airdrops every once in a while, which are amazing.
Yes.
But if you want to make yield on staking, Theta Fuel is a much better payout. What's that, like 7 or 8% right now?
It's like 4 or 5 to 1 dollar. Like if you'll get that much higher return out of the T Fuel. It's pretty amazing. Maybe it's 3 or 4 to 1. It's pretty. It's substantial. Yeah.
And this is organic. It's not the Ponzi schemes that were happening a couple of years ago. I'll give you're in 50% of your coins.
This is totally organic. One of my buddies at ThetaCon I was talking to, he was like, the burn rate for T Fuel needs to be higher. There's just not enough happening in the ecosystem right now. The burn rate's not high enough, and it's pretty inflationary. There's a lot of it being we're all getting it airdropped into our wallets every second or whatever. So he's like, I need to see that burn rate higher before I'm really confident in T Fuel. that was one conversation. Then that evening, I'm talking to somebody else, and I think this came from Mitch, actually. Yes, this was through the grapevine from Mitch, that he could envision the market cap of T Fuel actually surpassing Theta someday. Ooh. Because of the demand, not the market cap, because of the demand on T Fuel specifically, based on all of that action happening with subchains, right, and with companies and all these things operating that need the fuel to operate their business.
And that will be, that would be like Amazon buying T Fuel to support, their own token,
support their nodes, or or their own token on their own subchain.
Imagine that. This is not advice to swap all your Theta for T Fuel or vice versa.
No, it's not at all.
I like having kind of a 50-50 relationship. T Fuel, not amount of tokens, but total dollar value.
Dollars invested,
50-50 T Fuel to Theta in dollar value. So you need to adjust at times, but that right now it's what, 20-1?
The price is about 19-1,
19-1,
yeah. And wasn't it like around 10-1 for a while? Like that was kind of
it was dropping, and everybody's, it's going to 7-1, it's going to 6-1. But there was no reason for that other than the quantity of coins out there. Now there's a reason, because you need T Fuel to run the subchains. You need
the yield is higher
for all kinds of things, and the use case is massive on the subchain basis. And also for those people who watch crypto viewing, guys, that was a big thing for Hitomi when she did her viewing. She saw like Amazon and YouTube and everybody using the Theta blockchain in some way.
She saw T Fuel as some type of currency, global currency or whatever?
She didn't look at Theta. She didn't look at T Fuel. It was just
Fuel. Okay.
The viewing was just Theta. But she saw a lot of different tokenized logos. Theta logo, you have she saw all these different things coming into, and she couldn't explain it. But and now here we are, 3 or 4 years later, with the invention of the subchains. Amazon will have the Amazon coin on their coin. That will be their logo, even though they're just using the Theta blockchain for approvals and burning T Fuel to do that.
Yeah, if you think about it, and this is what I told my buddy, I was like, you know what? Even though Theta is the governance token, like look at the Ethereum network, look at the gas fees. What the demand is for the gas token in usability and functionality. Like I know it's the same token with Ethereum, but like there's high gas fees because of that demand for functionality, and people are willing to pay it. They're minting $10 NFTs and paying $20 in gas fees. So that was telling when I really thought about that. I was like, that the high gas fees that people are willing to pay shows me the demand for operability. Maybe there could be high demand for a gas token like T Fuel, right?
I think if it does really kick in, which I think the next run is going to be the biggest of all the runs in cryptos. Have we begun it? I think so.
I think so too.
Are there things that can slow it down? Absolutely. Gary Gensler, that's his job, is to slow down the implementation of all cryptocurrencies, and he should be arrested and put in jail for what he's done in silver when he was running the CFTC while JP Morgan was having a field day rigging the prices, and then they put him as the head of the SEC. They do need to investigate Gary Gensler on the Hillary Clinton payment to the Steele dossier. He wrote the check. Why is he not culpable? Why is he not, going to jail? Because nobody went to jail.
Right. Well, that's why.
Talk about colluding with the Russians. Gary Gensler go down with that.
I've been getting like early 2017 vibes. And I don't know if you remember early 2017, but in February, you and I and your lovely wife, my wife was there too. We were in Acapulco, Mexico. Were our wives there that year? I don't remember, but I remember hanging out with you. Amy was there. I remember you basically gave me the FOMO, because I owned Bitcoin. I'd owned it for years, but I never had like a significant amount of it. And then, and you were like, dude, And I came home, and then it was like 2017. And I've been getting those same vibes, like early 2017 vibes. And everything, I mean, if you look at some of these charts, not to be a chart nerd, but like Link put in over 500 days, and I'm not harping on Link for it, but the chart is insane. It put in over 500 days of consolidation, and then it broke out, and it's broken out hard. I mean, it's almost tripled from the breakout, 2.5. Like it's not, things don't do that and then re-enter that. Like we could have a hiccup, we could have a banking crash, and we could have a blip where things wick down all the way down to the bottom low where they were, but you can't get them. As you remember, I remember previous bull runs and where things would wick like that and Coinbase would freeze. Remember? All of them would freeze.
Coinbase would freeze because they wanted to get, slop up enough coins on their own exchange.
And there was evidence, there was on-chain evidence of that. And we were all waving the flags like, this is BS. We've got 100 different people here who tried to log in to 12 different exchanges at the same time to place the trade. And they were all frozen, all of them. And then magically an hour later, half an hour later, after the wick was gone, and you guys all consumed up the supply because it's all, unbelievable, man.
Crazy. It's crazy. All right. We're going to go to some off camera, not still on camera, just off YouTube type of stuff with what's going on in our world and will we survive for the next couple of weeks? Who the hell knows, which is very scary to think about, but you don't want to live your life in fear. So make sure you go to roadtoruder.com and check us out for the second half of this. Will, again, tell people how to get those Silver Eagles before the whole shit falls apart.
Yes, sir. Perpetualassets.com. You can click on silver in the top or put your mouse over it, and then Eagles will pop right up and click on them. Also, if you have a retirement account, an IRA, a 401k, get it out. You don't have much time left. Whether you want to put it in El Salvador real estate or buy a rental property down the street from you, or you want to put it in silver and gold or Bitcoin or Theta or whatever, we can put it in a self-directed format so you can get it out of the banking system. So
without paying the crazy fines, if you were just to liquidate your 401k and take the fines,
they hammer you, penalties and fines and taxes, and
it's very painful. All right, well, thank you so much, and we'll get on live again very soon as the shit's falling apart.
Thank you, brother. Always a pleasure. Cheers, everybody.